It's more than 24 hours that India struck Pakistan. Our forces carried out Operation Sindoor. It is called precision attack, where 9 terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan occupied Kashmir were attacked. Operation Sindoor was India's response to the Pakistani terror attack in Pahalgam, which killed 26 innocent civilians, 25 Indian citizens, and one Nepal national. The airstrike was very responsibly done, where 3 forces came together to attack only the terror camp bases. No military bases were attacked, no civilian camps were attacked. In response, Pakistan has retaliated at the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. The civilians are in panic. People have been killed. Innocent civilians have been killed, in fact. Now, the bigger question is what is next? Now, since India has done a very precision strike, a very calculated move to give away the message that now the ball is in Pakistan's court. The question is what is next? How Pakistan will respond, and is India ready to respond to their actions? We have Commodore Kesnur with us to answer all these questions. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Look forward to speaking to you too, Priyanka.
Yes, sir. So this was, I believe, this strike is another strike after 1971 that India carried out, where 3 forces came together: the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force. And even bigger, that India did not enter Pakistan airspace and still carried out the targeted attack. How do you see that? How was this done?
I'll answer that in two different say sequences. The first is that I believe that the Indian Armed Forces, yes, when you use the phrase strike, so it has a kind of different connotation. But I believe that on the whole, the Indian Armed Forces have played together right from Junagadh in 1947 to Goa liberation in 61. And more recently, after 71, during Operation Pavan in Sri Lanka, and indeed in Kargil, we must not forget Kargil and Parakram. And then, the security situation in the subcontinent being what it is, I think there has been lots of coordination and cohesion between the armed forces in each operation, irrespective whether it has led to a strike, as you would say, or it has been defensive measures on our side, or it's been some sort of posturing or power projection or signaling or whatever it is. I think on the whole, over the years, the armed forces have operated together with a certain level of cohesion. But I take your larger point that this is a strike into Pakistan, and it is slightly or significantly more enhanced than Balakot in the number of targets that we chose, in the pinpoint precision with which we did it, and doing it without, from all accounts, crossing our side of the border or the line of control. So I think these are very, very significant. And to be able to hit what could be called as a surgical strike, hitting the terror installations, the terror camps, sending a message in the press conference, cataloging the sins, so to say, of each of these terror camps. I think each of them was a message being sent. And yet, at the same time, as the Indian government has said, this is a very measured, this is a very calibrated, this is a non-escalatory, as the government of India sees it. In other words, telling Pakistan that now, the onus is on you guys not to escalate it, otherwise we will respond. So I think the finesse with which this has been done is amazing and deserves kudos.
Yes. So when we say that we wanted to give the message to Pakistan that if you do anything else, it could escalate, I think the Pakistan did not get the message right, and it retaliated and again targeted civilians as it has been doing over the years.
Yeah.
So how do you see that this could escalate, and how our forces are ready to respond to it?
Our forces for sure will be ready to respond. I say it not merely as a professional, but because these are part of the escalatory ladder, wargaming responses that you think that the other will do. So the possibility of escalation is always factored in. You hope that he takes the message and he doesn't do. You hope that your messaging that we will be prepared for any misadventure from his side will carry the day as far as Park is concerned. But I don't think anyone is willing to bet on that. So it is possible that they will do both. Coming to the second part, yes, they have started firing indiscriminately across the LOC using small arms and artillery, and that was expected. So I think that can be very easily handled. What is important here, Priyanka, and I must mention this, is that this is where the role of the rest of the country and media comes in, because Pakistan has done an information frenzy about some of the collateral damage that
Yes.
is purported to have happened on their side. Whereas we don't. I mean, there are women and children dying on our side too, many of them in terror attacks, many of them in this artillery firing. We need to similarly bring out these aspects, the humanitarian aspects of Pakistan's often indiscriminate and dastardly attacks. And so the armed forces are ready. I think I do know that the citizens are ready to, but this is the time for all of us to mobilize together as a nation.
Yes, and I see projectiles were used. We did not enter Pakistani airspace, while they do claim that they took down sometimes three jets, sometimes five jets, but that clearly is not the truth. So, how is it different from the Balakot strike that we did in 2019?
See, from all accounts, two or three things. In Balakot, our jets had actually entered Pakistan and gone and hit deep. Since Balakot, we have been able to get the kind of platforms, the Rafales particularly, and ammunition. So you can do standoff. I mean, even then you had standoff, but now you are able to stand off at much longer range. So staying inside and within Indian airspace, you can attack buildings, installation, and infrastructure deep into Pakistan, and we have done that. So we have from all accounts, from what I hear, we use the Scalp missile, which is a very, very smart missile with its own homing and seeking system. It has a range of about 250 to 300 kilometers. We use something called Hammer, which is, you can call it a kind of smart bomb, which has again a range of 60 to 70 kilometers. So that can hit deep. If you see some of the targets were 30, 40 kilometers from the border, one was 100 kilometers. So I think different combinations of ammunitions have been used. We've also apparently used something called the loitering munitions, which again is a kind of, you can think of it as a chota drone with the ability to attack, a kind of attack drone. So we've used smarter weapons, better platforms, with much greater degree of intelligence and pre-planning. I think that is remarkable in the targets that we've hit. Another significantly different thing we have done, this will be of interest to you as a media person, is that I think we have been more open, not that we were not earlier, but we have showed the videos and the proof and the
Yes.
places in a more visible, palpable manner, so
Yes.
that the narrative on that stays within control, the communication narrative, the media narrative, and it can be shared with people at large in the media.
Yes. And when it comes to narrative, I also see that we chose the name of the operation as Operation Sindoor, and rightfully, because all the men were attacked in Pahalgam attack, that we responded very strategically this time. And I also see the briefing that took place had two women responding to that when the terrorists wanted to disarm our communal harmony, and we chose two women from two religions talking about and showing that how India is prepared and it is able to take the revenge. At the same time, when we talk about Indian Navy, I definitely want to know how much Navy is prepared and how are we at the edge and what is our edge over Pakistan?
See, as far as Navy is concerned, it's as prepared as any other armed force. There is no lesser or greater preparation. I think first of all, you must remember that all armed forces already have contingency program and a certain level of preparedness inherent at any time. That is based on the existing threat level, and the advantages that navies have is because ships contain all the organic elements. People stay together, the ammunition is together, everything is together. It is possible to argue that navy's mobilization factor is much lesser, and it's by the seaside. So voila, they can sail out at the soonest with all arms and ammunition. And there are ready duty ships and for these sort of and aircraft for these sort of eventuality. So the Navy is fully ready, and you can expect that they will be ready in all respects, especially after Pahalgam, given the situation, given the climate, so to say. You can expect the armed force to be ready in all respects, consistent with the directives that the government of India and the higher defense headquarters gives for such operations. The second point you must remember in this is that when you factor in things like escalation and all that, these are, in all probability, you hope it doesn't, you hope the war is contained, but you can't say that this element of the service will come or this will not come. So you have to be prepared. You can't be caught on a back foot. And to that extent, I think it is not for me to hazard a guess about the operational plans of Navy or any other service, but you can be sure that the Navy is as prepared and as ready as any vital organ of the state is, which would mean that it is fully ready and geared up.
Of course. And what are our edges over Pakistan when it comes to Indian Navy?
Yeah. Look, there is a huge amount of asymmetry at this point. You just have to see the power differential between the two navies, the strengths that we have, whether it surface fleet, the aircraft carriers, the strength you have in aviation, the pure numbers, formidable combat power, firepower, missiles, aircraft. So I think in all of these, we have a huge amount of edge with regard to pure combat power. And we have fine professionals who know how to employ this combat power for getting optimal results. So I'm sure and confident that if the Navy has to play a role, and this is where your 71 analogy comes in, that if it has to play a role, then it will play as spectacular a role as it did in 1970.
Right. And now, apart from the border conflict, Pakistan is also playing the psychological warfare. At the same time, it is doing the cyber attacks. A lot of government official websites have been hacked. a lot of social media accounts, fake accounts have been created. So, how does this impact in terms of India's strategy to respond to the attack that Pakistan has done yesterday and the future responses?
I think, the governments now and establishments over a certain period of time have become used to the idea that cyber attacks, psychological warfare, electronic warfare, and all non-kinetic forms of attack will be waged by any adversary you're going into. So
Yeah.
these situations are war games. I think as far as armed forces are concerned, they build sufficient firewalls and insulations, so that they can unplug when required from the wider electronic web, so to say, and insulate themselves from being intruded or hacked or have necessary countermeasures. Now, this is like a chess game. It goes on and forth, and skillful players know how to use it. As far as the rest of the country is concerned, and it could, for example, as you brought out, it could include anything from banking to financial services and all that. But you see, I think we must not give Pak too much credit there, unless, of course, they are being helped by some other countries in that regard. Because defacing some websites, hacking into some accounts, doing proxy for influential handles. I think that's part for the course. It's easy to detect. I mean, occasionally it can give cheap thrills to those guys who are, but nobody will be fooled by that. Is there going to be a much higher level of cyber attacks and things like that? That would indicate that Pakistan is getting help from certain agencies, because I don't think, I mean, of course, I'm not an expert in this regard, I must clarify, but I don't think Pakistan has that that kind of capabilities which India can't,
Hmm. That's of course true.
all mitigate. Please don't forget, we we have our parts in this regard too, and whether defensive or offensive, and we must maintain a tight lip over these and be confident that we can handle. The important thing again here is the citizen. I'm happy to use the opportunity that you've given me to say this, because today, because of social media, digital media, greater penetration of internet, one way or the other, the armed citizen, the armed army, the armed order, they come into the fray. They become a part of. Remember, wars are fought by nations. The
Yes.
armies fight the battles, armies and navies was. So every one of us is involved in this. It is the duty of the citizen not to be misled by information, propaganda, not to panic by any other attacks. There may be an ebb and flow in the flow of war, little ebbs and highs may be there, but not to panic, and to stand solidly behind the government and the armed forces.
Right. So when it comes to responding, first of all, India never attacks. It always defends. Its moves are always defensive. So when it comes to India retaliating or India responding to the attack from Pakistan, it has always played responsible. India has never targeted any military bases or the civilians, and same happened this time. Why does Pakistan choose to attack civilians and does not play fair?
Well, the answer is in your question. Does not play fair. I mean, one is, you can argue that you can be morally upright and yet be cunning in war, and that's the right of all those who are participating in war. But I ask you a question. Can Pakistan attack any terror infrastructure in our country?
No.
No, the answer, because we don't have terror infrastructure. So what is it that he has to attack or he'll want to attack? So their target will be military installation, because that way they feel that they are responding, and as they attempted to do when they hastily jettisoned some bombs at Srinagar after as the so-called response to Balakot. Okay, so they have to hit what they think are targets. And in that, invariably, it will be population centers, people centers, because we don't have terror camps, we don't have terror infrastructure, things like that. So that is obviously regarding the targeting aspect. But the bigger point is this, Priyanka, again, what you said. In war, once a full-fledged war starts, you can argue that the installations of this people that are valid targets, But historically, India has chosen uh, discretion, whether in low intensity combat, combating terrorism, or even wars. Or we could have, for example, during Kargil, crossed across and attack from other side. But even though we were in a sense operationally handicapped, we decided that morally we will not cross the LOC fight on
Right.
our side. Okay, so we don't, unlike Western powers, do shock and awe and bomb the hell out of a place or a country. You try and minimize collateral damage, use lesser caliber, don't use heavy artillery as long as it is inescapable.
Right.
Look, even in 71, and I must tell you this because you quoted 71, the aircraft carrier pilots, when they were attacking then East Pakistan, we're told that when you are attacking the infrastructure there, remember, don't hit the installation infrastructure that will be needed for the new country that will be born, Bangladesh. So hit war headquarters, hit war waging machinery, but don't hit to the extent bridges, dams, things like that. So I think India has waged a war within certain certain threshold of dharma, if you can call that, trying to be as honorable as possible. With the, of course, like again I said, that doesn't mean you can't be cunning in war. Mahabharata tells you that. So you can be clever and cunning in war, and yet be on the right side, morally, or right side of dharma. So I think India has done that. And India has tried to minimize damage every time it goes into war to ensure that innocent civilians are not hit, collateral damage doesn't happen. I don't claim that it is perfect every time, but it's always in there as a part of our conduct.
So we also need to understand that when it comes to responding, now since we attacked, now there is a retaliation from Pakistan. What will India's move now? Because it has to save its civilians, because the attack is on them at the borderline. Panic is everywhere.
It flags a larger issue that you said. Panic is everywhere, and that is important. We must not panic. Remember that war has a certain escalatory ladder. Go back to 71 that you talked about. From about December 1970 till 71, there were different stages, from people coming in, hijacking of Indian Airlines aircraft, certain border skirmishes, all that, and you took a decision. So for 1 year, there were ups and downs in temperature, diplomatic parlays, this and that. Now, of course, 50, 60 years later, many things are crunched, technology has changed, media is much more intrusive.
Right.
Certain aspects of war, conflict, diplomacy don't change. And the most important thing is that there is an escalation ladder or levels or steps, whatever you call it. We have offered Pakistan a way out by our surgical attack, telling them that we've hit the terrorists. Now, the ball is in your court not to escalate. If you do, there will be response. Now, you respond, they respond. There will be a little bit of uh, exchange, tennis exchange, you can say, or chess exchanges. And that's normal and natural if it happens. And in that, there could be certain factor of attrition. There could be some losses on your side, and you must bear with that. We
Yes.
can't, as a country, we can't say that we are going to chicken out at the first instance of certain losses, whether of people or equipment. We hope it doesn't happen. We take all precautions to ensure it doesn't happen. Every piece of equipment and person, whether military or civilian, is precious to Indians. We don't consider anyone as cannon fodder.
Right.
That having been said, there can be losses. Uh, but you got to keep your morale up. You got to keep your resolve up. India is known for resilience and resolve. And if you want to give a fitting answer to Pakistan for what it has done, and if it indulges in misadventure, I think Indians should not panic. They must be careful, they must be cautious, they must learn not to uh, give way to propaganda. They must do their part. Citizens must do their part of citizenship obligations.
Right.
But on the whole, I think you must not panic. India is too big a country to panic, too big an economy to panic, too big a regional power and a rising global power to panic. That that word must not find a word in that it must not find a place in our lexicon.
Okay, so I would rephrase my question here since it was a wrong question. I realize it was a wrong question to ask that how, if India is ready to save itself, of course, we are too big an entity to save ourselves. That goes on to the other part of the border. But yes, if it escalates, do you see that we may go under a full-fledged war?
See, I'm not in the business of predictions, and I don't think any sensible person would want to predict. Pakistan either often deliberately plays an irrational actor or it sometimes does irrational things. It knows it has not won a single battle. It goes into battle with wrong set of assumptions. It loses. That doesn't stop it from coming to battle again after 5, 10, 15 years. So that factor of rationality that you would assume in an antagonist may not be there as far as Pakistan is concerned. Now, the jury is out as to whether they're actually irrational or they just pretend to be so. And there are lots of people who make it a business to analyze that. So, the short answer to your question, is there a likelihood of war? You, I believe you can't discount that possibility. There could be, there may be certain steps that might go towards that. And I think when the Prime Minister said we will respond to this, and he made it unambiguous, I think the establishment was clear that any response would involve, a certain resolve necessary for the long haul if required. You know, so if that be so, then so be it.
Yeah, and India is ready for it. Its
It
forces
is
are
ready.
ready.
Of course, like all good people, sensible people, a country that wants economic prosperity, that wants other things, that is centered on social and economic growth for its citizens, we wouldn't want to have a war. We want peace in our country and our region. So you would hope. That's what I said. We have done the best thing possible to respond to a terror attack and then say that, okay, we've responded.
Yeah.
Now, it's on you not to uh, take things further.
Yes, and it was very precise, and as it is again and again being said, it is a precision attack. It was only targeted to the military, I rephrase myself, to the terror camps and not the military bases or the civilians. And I hope that it remains like that. And if the borders are heated, if the retaliation is happening, I wish that the war doesn't happen, but the peace survives and survives long. Thank you so much, sir, for all your time. And is there anything that you think I must be knowing or you want to add to this interview? That would be great.
I just want to make a couple of small points. One is that we must not, we would want permanent peace, which means that you would want that your deterrence against Pakistan must be infallible and must stay throughout.
Right.
We must remember that while we would want that, that does not necessarily obtain from 47 to 65 to 71 and then low intensity. Our deterrence has played for certain years, and thereafter you have to re-establish new norms of deterrence in whatever way possible. I mean, people can argue about whether one establishment did this or differently. So people who question, remember that after Balakot, we took some steps, administered punishments. It gave us 5 or 6 years of relative calm and peace. Uh, Now you hope that this does so again, but there will never be, as far as Pakistan is concerned, um, one is that that country doesn't seem to be interested in normal growth and prosperity. That there is heavy diet of indoctrination. There is elite garnering all the resources with military in the forefront of that. So the normal impulses that people of a country would have of development, of economic prosperity, of social cohesion, that seems to be not much there. And if that doesn't, then it acts like a drug for the people, you know. So my point is deterrence with Pakistan may need to be uh, uh, re restated again and again every few years. You hope the periodicity is long. So people who say, "Arey Balakot ke baad, we thought there'll be a permanent peace." No, that's we would want it, but it is a pipe dream to think that will happen. So that's one point, and that's something that again the armed forces people understand. But the citizens who enjoy the labor of peace, the this one of peace, the gains of peace, should understand that uh, you might not have this. There will be that little tumult up and down, but you must believe that given our strengths overall across all the domains, these will be pinpricks that we'll have to take in our stride.
Right, and we also hope that Pakistan doesn't play the dirty game of activating its terrorism cells that it does all the time, and that we have to respond through military.
Look, that's what. See, that is its unofficial army. You saw the amount of their establishment people at the funerals of the terrorists yesterday. Okay, so the link between the Pakistani establishments and their terror infrastructure, which is never a secret, is often out in the open.
Yes.
Okay, so activation of their sleeper cells is going to be one prong, one arm of their strategy for long, and they're going to be doing it. So we have to be careful. We have to take that in our stride, and we have to make sure that they are they are neutralized and they are eliminated, which brings in various arms of government again into the tender.
Right. We are trying to do it our best. And thank you so much, sir, for this interview. And it has been pleasure talking to you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much. Thanks. Pleasure being with you.
Pleasure. Thank you, sir.